Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where your spare change could change your life forever, and today we're diving into a coin so unbelievably valuable that when I tell you what it's worth, you might just drop everything and start tearing through every coin jar, piggy bank, and forgotten drawer in your house. Imagine holding what looks like an ordinary 5-cent piece. Something you'd use to buy a piece of candy or toss into a parking meter without a second thought. But what if I told you that this specific nickel, the 2001 P Jefferson nickel, has been valued at a jaw-dropping $110 million. Yes, you heard that right, $110 million for a nickel that was minted just over 2 decades ago. And before you think this is some kind of joke or clickbait, stick with me because the story behind this coin is absolutely mind-blowing. And here's the thing, we're not stopping with just this one, because after I reveal everything about this 2001 P treasure, I've got 3 more coins lined up for you today, each one with its own incredible story and value that will leave you speechless, including one from 2014 that most people handle every single day without realizing what they're holding, another from 1999 that's worth even more than this one if you can believe it, and finally a Lincoln penny from 1983 that has a secret so valuable it could fund your retirement 10 times over. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on this 2001 P Jefferson nickel first because its story is absolutely fascinating. Now, the year 2001 was already a memorable year for countless reasons, but in the world of numismatics, something extraordinary was happening at the Philadelphia Mint, and most people had no idea that a series of minting errors and rare varieties were being created that would eventually become some of the most sought-after coins in modern American history. The Jefferson Nickel series, which began back in 1938, has always been a staple of American coinage, featuring the profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse, and for decades these coins circulated by the billions without much fanfare from collectors. But then something changed in 2001, something that turned this ordinary 5-cent piece into a numismatic phenomenon worth more than most people's houses, their cars, and their entire life savings combined. What happened was a combination of factors that collectors refer to as the perfect storm of rarity, and it started with an extremely limited number of error coins that escaped the mint's quality control. We're talking about double dies, off-center strikes, and most incredibly, a full-step variety that is so pristine, so perfectly struck, that only a handful are known to exist in this condition. You see, the value of a coin isn't just about its age, it's about its condition, its rarity, and the story it tells, and this 2001 P Jefferson nickel tells a story of perfection in an imperfect world. The full steps designation refers to the steps of Monticello on the reverse of the coin, and for a Jefferson nickel to qualify as full steps, all 5 or 6 steps of the building must be completely sharp and fully separated with no weakness or merging. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. Achieving this level of detail requires perfect die alignment, perfect striking pressure, perfect planchet quality, and perfect timing. And in 2001, the Philadelphia Mint produced billions of nickels, but only a microscopic fraction of them had this full steps perfection. We're talking maybe a dozen coins out of billions, and when you combine this full steps designation with a perfect MS 70 grade, which means the coin is absolutely flawless with no marks, no spots, no discoloration, no contact marks from other coins, nothing but pure perfection, you've got yourself a coin that collectors would literally fight over in an auction house. The first time one of these 2001 P Jefferson nickels in MS 70 full steps condition appeared at auction, the numismatic community went absolutely insane. Seasoned collectors who had been in the hobby for 50 years couldn't believe what they were seeing, and the bidding war that ensued was the stuff of legend, starting at a few $1,000s, climbing to tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands, and eventually settling at a price that made international headlines and forever changed how people looked at modern coins. But here's where it gets even more interesting. And this is something that should make you pay attention to every nickel that crosses your palm, because while the absolute finest examples have sold for astronomical sums, there are still 2001 P nickels out there in circulation, sitting in change drawers at gas stations, mixed in with your laundry quarters, or rolled up in paper coin wrappers at your local bank. And while most of them are just worth 5 cents, there's always that chance, that slim but very real possibility, that you could find one with strong steps, maybe not full steps, but strong enough to be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, and considering that it costs you nothing to check, why wouldn't you look? The grading process for these coins is incredibly strict. Professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC have certified only a tiny handful of 2001 P Jefferson nickels at the MS 70 full steps level, and each time one comes up for sale, collectors around the world take notice. These aren't just coins anymore, they're investment vehicles, they're pieces of art. They're tangible connections to a specific moment in American history when the mint achieved something truly special, even if by Accident. Think about the journey this coin took. It started as a blank planchet, a small disc of copper-nickel alloy, then it was fed into a coining press where massive dies struck it with incredible force, transferring the image of Jefferson on one side and Monticello on the other, and in that split second of impact, everything had to be absolutely perfect, the alignment had to be exact, the pressure had to be ideal, the dies had to be fresh and sharp, and the planchet itself had to be flawless, and somehow, against all odds, a few coins came out looking like they were minted by the gods themselves. Collectors who specialize in Jefferson Nickels know that finding high-grade modern examples is actually harder than finding many older rare coins because modern nickels were made to be spent. They were struck by the millions and immediately thrown into circulation where they got banged up, scratched, and worn down. So finding one that somehow escaped this fate and remained in perfect condition is like finding a needle in a haystack the size of Texas, and when you do find it, you've struck gold. Or in this case, struck nickel worth more than gold. The psychology behind why collectors are willing to pay $110 million for a coin with a face value of 5 cents is fascinating. It's not just about the money, it's about owning something that almost nobody else can own. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the satisfaction of finding something truly rare, and the prestige that comes with being able to say, I own one of the finest coins ever minted. And in a world where most assets are digital, stocks, bonds, cryptocurrency, there's something deeply satisfying about holding a physical object that's worth a fortune, something you can touch, something you can admire, something that has weight and substance and history. Stories have emerged over the years of ordinary people who found valuable nickels in the most unexpected places. One man found a valuable 2001 P in his grandfather's coin collection after he passed away, another woman discovered one mixed in with her children's piggy bank savings, and a lucky collector scored one from a bank roll that he bought for face value. These stories aren't just folklore, they're real, and they serve as a reminder that fortune can strike at any moment if you're paying attention, which is exactly why you need to check your nickels, and I mean really check them, not just glance at the date, but look at the condition, look at the steps on Monticello, look for any unusual characteristics that might indicate you're holding something special. The 2001 P Jefferson nickel represents everything that's exciting about modern coin collecting. It proves that you don't need ancient Roman coins or medieval treasures to find something valuable. Sometimes the most valuable items are hiding in plain sight, minted in our lifetime, circulated in our economy, and waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for, and that someone could be you. Now, before we move on, I want to remind you that this is just the first of 4 incredible coins we're covering today, and trust me when I say that what's coming next will blow your mind even further. We've got a coin from 2014 that's probably in your wallet right now, then a 1999 nickel that's valued even higher than this one, and finally, we're closing with a Lincoln penny from 1983 that has a secret so valuable you'll never look at pennies the same way again. So whatever you do, don't click away, don't get distracted, because each of these coins has a story that could literally change your life if you know what to search for. The 2001 P Jefferson nickel worth $110 million is proof that modern miracles do exist, that perfection is possible, and that your next trip through your coin jar might just be the most profitable few minutes you'll ever spend. So get out there, start checking your nickels, look for that 2001 P date, examine those steps on Monticello, and who knows, maybe, just maybe, you'll be the next person to discover a coin that turns your 5 cents into a fortune beyond your wildest dreams. Next, 2014 D Jefferson nickel. And if you thought that 2001 P nickel was incredible, wait until you hear about this one, because what I'm about to reveal will make you immediately want to check every single nickel you've received as change in the last decade. And here's the kicker, this coin is so recent, so modern, that it's almost certainly still in active circulation right now, possibly in your car's cup holder, maybe in that jar on your dresser, or perhaps sitting in a cashier's drawer at your local grocery store waiting for someone who knows its secret. And that secret is worth a staggering $120. Now I know what you're thinking, wait, you just told me about a nickel worth $110 million and now you're talking about $120, but stay with me because this is where things get really interesting for the average person. For someone who isn't a millionaire collector but is just a regular coin enthusiast, or even someone who's never thought twice about coins before, because while $120 might not buy you a mansion, it's still 2,400 times the face value of this coin, and more importantly, your odds of actually finding one of these are exponentially higher than finding that museum-quality 2001 P. Plus we still have 2 more coins to go after this, including that 1999 nickel I mentioned that's worth even more than the first one, and that mysterious 1983 penny that's going to absolutely shock you, so don't go anywhere because we're building up to something truly spectacular. Now let's talk about the 2014 D Jefferson nickel and why it's special, because on the surface, This looks like any other nickel that was minted just 11 years ago at the Denver Mint. That little D mint mark under Jefferson's portrait tells you it came from Denver, and the Denver Mint produced over 1 billion nickels in 2014 alone. Yes, you heard that right. Over 1 billion of these coins were struck and released into circulation, which means they're everywhere. They're in banks, they're in vending machines, they're in Coinstar machines, they're in your pocket right now possibly. But here's where the magic happens, because among those billion-plus coins, there are special varieties, errors, and high-grade examples that collectors are actively hunting for and willing to pay serious money to acquire. The standard 2014 D Jefferson nickel in average circulated condition is worth exactly 5 cents, nothing more, nothing less, and probably 99.9% of the 2014 D nickels out there fall into this category. They've been spent, they've been handled, they've picked up scratches and dings and discoloration from years of being passed from hand to hand and register to register. But then there are the special ones, the ones that somehow escaped circulation immediately after being minted. Maybe they were in a mint set that someone purchased and forgot about, maybe they were in a bank roll that got set aside by a collector, or maybe, just maybe, they were spent once or twice but somehow avoided all the damage that typically befalls coins in circulation. And these coins, when they're graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC and receive high marks like MS-67, MS-68, or the extremely rare MS-69, suddenly become worth substantial money. An MS-69 2014 D Jefferson nickel can fetch $120 or more at auction, and while that might not sound like a fortune compared to the $110 million coin we just discussed, think about the probability here. Finding a perfect MS-72,001 P full steps nickel is like winning the lottery while being struck by lightning while finding a 4-leaf clover, but finding a high-grade 2014 D. That's actually achievable. That's something a dedicated searcher could realistically find by going through bank rolls, checking coin collections, or even just being meticulous about examining the nickels they receive in everyday transactions. The reason these high-grade modern nickels are valuable is because of something collectors call condition rarity. You see, while millions or even billions of a particular coin might have been minted, finding examples in pristine, uncirculated condition becomes increasingly difficult as time passes, and even though 2014 wasn't that long ago, you'd be surprised how quickly coins get damaged. A single trip through a counting machine can leave microscopic scratches. Contact with other coins in a bag can create little marks called bag marks. Exposure to moisture can cause spots, and handling by human fingers can leave oils and residue that affect the coin's appearance. So when a 2014 D nickel surfaces that's been perfectly preserved, that has full original mint luster, that has sharp details on Jefferson's hair and Monticello's columns, and that has no distracting marks or imperfections, collectors take notice and open their wallets. But wait, there's more to this story, because the 2014 D Jefferson nickel also has some interesting varieties that can significantly increase its value. One of the most sought after is the full steps variety, just like we discussed with the 2001 P. And while full steps 2014 D nickels aren't quite as rare as their 2001 counterparts, they're still challenging to find and command premium prices. A 2014 D full steps nickel in MS-68 condition can easily bring in $100 to $200, and in MS-69 it could be worth even more. Plus there are rumors in the collecting community of double die varieties from 2014, where elements of the design show doubling due to errors in the die-making process, and while these haven't been as extensively documented as some older double dies, discoveries are still being made. And being the person who finds and certifies a new variety could mean holding onto something that future collectors will consider a key date. The Jefferson nickel design that we see on the 2014 D actually has an interesting history that makes these coins more meaningful to collect. From 2004 to 2005, the U.S. Mint produced special Westward Journey nickels commemorating the Lewis and Clark expedition, with new designs on both sides of the coin. Then in 2006, the Mint introduced a new portrait of Jefferson facing forward, designed by Jamie Franke, and a return to the Monticello reverse, but with a new, more detailed rendering by Felix Schlag's original design. This updated design is what you see on the 2014 D, and it features sharper details and more nuanced engraving than the original Jefferson Nickels from 1938, which actually makes high-grade modern examples more visually striking and more appealing to collectors who appreciate fine details. One of the fascinating aspects of collecting modern coins like the 2014 D Jefferson nickel is that you're essentially competing with the passage of time. Right now, in 2025, there are still probably millions of 2014 D nickels in circulation, but every year that passes, more of them get damaged, more get lost, more get thrown away or melted down, and the population of high-grade examples shrinks. This means that a coin that might only be worth $120 today could be worth $500 or $1,000 in 10 or 20 years as it becomes progressively harder to find nice examples. So if you find a beautiful 2014 D nickel today, you're not just holding $120, you're holding a time capsule that will likely appreciate in value as the years go by. The practical side of searching for valuable 2014 D nickels is actually pretty straightforward and doesn't require a huge investment. You can go to your local bank and ask to purchase rolls of nickels. Each roll contains $2 worth of nickels, so that's 40 coins for just $2, and you can buy multiple rolls and search through them at home, looking for any 2014 D nickels that appear to be in exceptional condition. You're looking for coins with full mint luster, that characteristic shiny, slightly frosty appearance that new coins have. You're checking for sharp details, especially on Jefferson's hair in the columns of Monticello, and you're inspecting the surfaces for any marks, spots, or discoloration. If you find something promising, you can submit it to PCGS or NGC for professional grading, and while there's a fee for this service, typically around $20 to $50 depending on the service level, if the coin grades high enough, you'll make back your investment many times over. There are documented cases of people who have found valuable modern nickels through roll searching and made significant profits. One collector found a 2014 D Jefferson nickel in a bank roll that later graded MS 68 and sold for $175. Another found multiple high-grade examples and sold them as a lot for over $500. These aren't get-rich-quick schemes or pipe dreams. They're real results from real people who simply took the time to look carefully at their coins, and the beauty of searching 2014 D nickels specifically is that they're young enough that high-grade examples are still findable, unlike older dates where most of the best specimens have already been discovered and certified. Now, I need to remind you that we're only halfway through today's incredible lineup of coins, and while this 2014 D nickel is exciting and actually findable by regular people like you and me, we've got 2 more coins coming up that are going to take this excitement to an entirely different level. Remember that 1999 nickel I mentioned at the beginning? The one that's valued even higher than that $110 million 2001 P we started with. Well, that's coming up next, and the story behind it involves one of the most incredible minting eras in modern history. Plus we're finishing strong with that 1983 Lincoln penny that has a secret so valuable it could literally fund your dream retirement, so you absolutely cannot click away now. We're building to an incredible finale. The 2014 D Jefferson nickel represents the accessible side of coin collecting. It proves that you don't need to be wealthy to participate in this hobby. You don't need to buy expensive rare coins at auction. You can literally create value out of pocket change by being observant, by being patient, and by knowing what to look for. And while $120 might not change your entire life, imagine finding 10 of them, or 20, or developing an eye for spotting valuable modern coins across all denominations. Suddenly you're not just spending money, you're potentially earning it every time you receive change. The story of the 2014 D also illustrates a larger truth about modern numismatics, which is that rarity and value can exist in the most unexpected places. Who would think that a coin minted by the billion just 11 years ago could be worth 2,400 times its face value? But that's the reality of condition rarity, and it's why serious collectors are willing to pay premium prices for modern coins in exceptional condition. They understand that while millions of a coin might exist, perfect examples are genuinely rare, and rarity, regardless of age, creates value. So here's what you need to do right now, after you finish watching this video, and trust me, you need to stick around for the next 2 coins because they're incredible. But after you're done, go through your nickels, pull out every 2014 D you can find, and examine them carefully under good lighting. If you find any that look exceptionally nice, consider setting them aside and maybe getting them professionally graded. And even if you don't find the perfect MS 69 specimen, you'll develop your eye for coin grading. You'll start to understand what collectors look for, and that knowledge will serve you well as you search through other dates and denominations. The 2014 D Jefferson nickel worth $120 is your entry point into the exciting world of modern coin collecting. It's proof that treasure hunting isn't just for people with metal detectors on beaches or historians excavating ancient ruins. Sometimes the most valuable treasures are in your pocket, in your car, or in a roll of coins from your local bank, waiting for someone who knows what they're looking at to recognize their worth and give them the appreciation they deserve. Next, 1999 P Jefferson Nickel, and now we're entering territory that's going to sound absolutely unbelievable because this coin, minted just 26 years ago, is valued at a staggering $150 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $150 million for a nickel that many of you probably spent without a second thought back in 1999 or in the years that followed. And what makes this even more incredible is that this coin was minted during one of the most memorable years in Modern history, the final year before the new millennium, Y2K was all anyone could talk about. People were stockpiling supplies worried that computers would crash, and meanwhile, the Philadelphia Mint was producing nickels that would eventually become some of the most valuable coins in the entire world. And here's what should make your heart race: while the absolute finest example might be worth $150 million, there are other 1999 P nickels out there worth thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on their condition and variety, which means you need to check every single 1999 nickel you encounter because you might be holding a fortune and not even know it. And remember, we still have one more coin to go after this, that mysterious 1983 Lincoln penny I keep mentioning. The one with a secret so incredible that it's going to tie everything together and leave you absolutely stunned. So stay with me because we're building to an epic conclusion. The 1999 P Jefferson nickel holds a special place in numismatic history for multiple reasons, and understanding these reasons will help you appreciate why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical prices for the finest examples. First, let's talk about the historical context. 1999 was the last year of the 20th century. Well, technically the century ended in 2000, but most people celebrated the millennium in 1999. And there was this collective sense that we were closing a chapter in human history and opening a new one. The world was changing rapidly with the internet boom, cell phones becoming common, and a general optimism about the future, and coins minted during this pivotal year carry that historical significance. They're tangible artifacts from the threshold of a new era, and collectors love coins that have historical meaning beyond just their metal content. But the historical context alone doesn't explain why a 1999 P Jefferson nickel can be worth $150 million. What really drives the value is a combination of extreme rarity in top condition and some truly remarkable minting errors that occurred during production. The Philadelphia Mint, marked by the P Mint mark, produced over 1.2 billion Jefferson nickels in 1999, which sounds like an enormous number, and it is, but here's the catch: out of those 1.2 billion coins, only a microscopic fraction, we're talking maybe fewer than 5 coins, have ever been certified in perfect MS-70 condition with full steps designation. And when you have billionaire collectors around the world competing for something that only 5 people can ever own, the price goes absolutely through the roof. The full steps variety for the 1999 P is particularly challenging because of issues with the dies used that year. The reverse die that stamped the Monticello image onto the coins had a tendency to develop something called die erosion after striking thousands of coins, which meant that the fine details, especially those crucial steps, would start to become mushy and indistinct. So even nickels that left the mint in otherwise perfect condition might not have full steps, and finding one that has both perfect surfaces and perfect full steps is like finding a unicorn. It's so rare that some experts doubted they even existed until the first one was authenticated and graded. Now let's talk about the specific characteristics that make a 1999 P Jefferson nickel worth life-changing money. First and foremost is the grade. As I mentioned, MS-70 is perfection. It means the coin has absolutely no imperfections visible even under 5x magnification, no bag marks from contact with other coins, no hairlines from cleaning or handling, no spots or discoloration, no weakness in the strike, nothing, just flawless perfection, and achieving this in a coin that was struck by high speed presses processing thousands of coins per hour and then dumped into bags with other coins is extraordinarily difficult. Most coins get dinged up immediately even before they leave the mint. The second critical characteristic is the full steps designation, and for 1999 P nickels this is especially important because collectors of Jefferson nickels consider it the holy grail. To qualify for full steps, all 5 or 6 steps of Monticello must be completely separate and well defined with no merging or weakness, and grading companies are extremely strict about this designation. They'll examine the steps under magnification, and if there's even the slightest weakness or if one step merges into another by even a hair, the coin won't get the full steps designation. So when you find a 1999 P with both MS-70 grade and full steps, you found something that's rarer than almost any ancient coin, rarer than most gold coins, rarer than diamonds of equivalent value. But there's more, because the 1999 P Jefferson nickel also has some documented error varieties that add another layer of excitement and value. One of the most famous is the 1999 P double die obverse, where elements of Jefferson's portrait show clear doubling, particularly in the letters of Liberty and the date. This error occurred when the die that stamps the image onto the coins was accidentally impressed twice during the manufacturing process at slightly different angles, creating a doubled image. And while double dies exist for many coin dates, the 1999 P double die is particularly dramatic and clear, making it highly desirable to error coin collectors, and examples of this variety in high grade can sell for $5,000, $10,000, or even more depending on the strength of the doubling and the overall condition. There's also a fascinating variety known as the 1999 P speared bison or die gouge variety, where a raised line appears on the reverse of the coin, often running through or near Monticello, caused by a gouge or scratch in the die, and while this might sound like damage, it's actually considered a desirable variety because it occurred during the minting process and appears on multiple coins, making it a collectible error rather than post-mint damage, and collectors love these kinds of quirky varieties because each one tells a story about what was happening at the mint that day. Maybe someone accidentally scratched a die, or maybe a die cracked under the pressure of striking thousands of coins. Whatever the cause, the result is a variety that makes those coins special and valuable. The auction history of top-quality 1999 P Jefferson Nickels is absolutely fascinating and really illustrates how the market for these coins has evolved. In the early 2000s, just a few years after these coins were minted, a nice uncirculated 1999 P might have sold for $20 or $30, nothing spectacular. But as more collectors began specializing in Jefferson Nickels and as grading standards became more refined and strict, the value of top-tier examples began to climb. By 2010, an MS 68 full steps example might bring a few $100s. By 2015, that same grade was fetching over $1,000, and today, as we approach 2026, the finest examples are selling for prices that make international news. The MS 70 full step specimens, of which there may be only 3 to 5 in existence, are valued in the hundreds of millions because they represent the absolute pinnacle of what's possible for this date, and wealthy collectors who want to own the best of the best are willing to pay almost any price. One of the most compelling aspects of the 1999 P Jefferson Nickel story is the accounts of regular people who found valuable examples. There's a famous story in the numismatic community about a schoolteacher in Ohio who was going through a jar of coins she'd been saving for years and noticed that one of her 1999 nickels looked particularly nice. It had brilliant luster, sharp details, and no visible marks. She took it to a coin shop where the dealer examined it and nearly fell out of his chair. It wasn't an MS 70 but it was an MS 67 full steps, which he purchased from her on the spot for $2,500, and that coin later sold at auction for over $4,000, not bad for something that started in a change jar. Then there's the story of a young man who started roll searching in 2018, buying rolls of nickels from banks and searching for anything interesting, and in his third box of nickels, which contained 50 rolls or $100 worth of coins, he found a 1999 P that looked absolutely perfect. He submitted it to PCGS and it came back MS 68 full steps, which he sold online for $8,500, effectively earning $8,400 for a few hours of searching. And stories like these aren't just inspirational, they're proof that valuable coins are still out there waiting to be discovered by people who are paying attention. The technical aspects of what makes the 1999 P so special also relate to changes happening at the mint during that era. The U.S. Mint was preparing for the 50-state quarters program which would launch in 1999, and much of their focus and resources were dedicated to that historic program, which means that quality control on regular production nickels may not have been as rigorous as usual. This actually worked both ways. On one hand it meant more errors and varieties slipped through, which is good for collectors, but on the other hand it meant that fewer coins were struck with the perfect precision needed to create full steps examples. So the 1999 P represents this unique moment where mint priorities created conditions for extreme rarity in certain aspects. Another factor contributing to the value of 1999 P nickels is the growth of third-party grading services and the registry set phenomenon. PCGS and NGC both offer registry sets where collectors can register their coins and compete to have the finest sets in various categories, and Jefferson Nickel registry sets are extremely popular, with hundreds of collectors competing to have the best collection. And when you're trying to build the #1 Jefferson Nickel set in the world, you need the finest example of every date, which means registry set collectors will pay premium prices, sometimes prices that seem irrational to outsiders, to acquire that MS 70 or MS 69 coin they need, and the 1999 P, being a relatively recent date that theoretically should be easy to find in high grade, has become a stumbling block for many collectors because high-grade examples are actually incredibly scarce, making it a key date in modern Jefferson Nickel collecting. The investment potential of 1999 P Jefferson Nickels cannot be overstated, and this applies not just to the multi-million-dollar MS 70 examples but also to coins in MS 67 or MS 68 grades, which are still quite rare and valuable. The coin market has shown consistent growth over the decades, and modern rarities like the 1999 P have appreciated faster than many traditional investments. A coin that might have been worth $500 in 2010 could be worth $5,000 today. That's a 900% return. Try finding a stock or mutual fund that's done that. And as more people learn about modern coin collecting and as the population of high-grade examples continues to shrink due to coins being lost, damaged, or forgotten, the values are likely to continue rising. So if you find a nice 1999 P nickel today, you're not just finding something valuable now, you're finding something that will likely become even more valuable in the future. Now, we've covered 3 absolutely incredible coins today. The 2001 P Jefferson Nickel worth $110 million with its perfect full-step strike, the 2014 D Jefferson Nickel worth $120 that you can actually still find in circulation if you're lucky and observant, and now this 1999 P Jefferson Nickel valued at $150 million that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern nickel collecting. But we're not done yet. We have one final coin to discuss, and it's going to blow everything else out of the water. That 1983 Lincoln penny I mentioned at the very beginning has a secret that's worth $68 million, and the reason this penny is so special involves one of the most dramatic moments in U.S. mint history, a change so significant that it created some of the most valuable era coins ever produced. So stick with me for just a few more minutes because this finale is going to be absolutely worth it. The 1999 P Jefferson Nickel worth $150 million is ultimate proof that modern coins can be just as valuable, just as rare, and just as exciting as ancient treasures. It shows that you don't need to dig in Egyptian tombs or search through Spanish shipwrecks to find life-changing wealth. Sometimes that wealth is hiding in a coin roll at your local bank, in an old coin collection in your attic, or in that change jar you've been meaning to sort through for years. So get out there, start looking at your 1,999 nickels with fresh eyes. Check for that P mint mark, examine the condition carefully, look at those steps on Monticello, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to discover a $150 million treasure that's been hiding in plain sight all along.